everyone, and welcome to the Zelda Cast here on ZeldaDungeon.net. My name is Andy Spiteri, joined, as always, by my friend and yours, Allison Aletha. Al, how are you on this fine February day?
Oh, it is. It's the 1st of February. I'm
Yes.
great. I'm great. And we have a guest today.
We do have a guest. After last time, we swore never again, but here we are. We brought him back out of retirement. It is the founder of Zelda Dungeon himself, Mossie's Hagopian. Moss, how are you?
I'm good. It's that time of the decade. So
Yeah.
A decade.
Yeah. Once every year or so, we need to thaw the ice around Moss. So we bring him on the show to talk about typically the older games.
I love watching whenever we have a guest that they're not used to Andy's wind up before he starts the show. So Mossy's just sitting there like, are we going?
I was like, come on.
Yeah.
I'm used to it. I see it once a week, but not
You
everybody else is
gotta
used to it.
build up anticipation. You can't just give the people what they want right away. You got to make them want it a little bit.
Have you guys ever talked about that? I think it was Jules. She added it's on like the soundboard on the Zelda Dungeon Discord.
Oh my god. I don't know if we talked about it on the show a couple weeks ago, but so we had a little like Zelda Dungeon, like call it a staff party. Like it was just a night, we're all hanging out in staff chat and Discord, we're playing some games. Just a little, thank you for all the hard work. And I did not know that I was part of the soundboard until that night. Because when I came in, I was a little bit late, but I was like, I want to hang out for a little bit. And so I joined in, and like there were people playing this like 3 times in a row, like immediately when I came into voice chat. I didn't know what was happening. It's very startling.
Well,
I didn't know it was on there either.
Else feels.
I had thought you joined, and then I'm like, why is Andy saying the same thing over?
Your guess is as good as mine. I don't remember like recording that. I don't remember. I think now that I think about, like, Charitu might have asked me to do it, and I was like, okay. But that was like years ago, so it was very startling to hear my. It's really abrasive, like hearing your own voice just so loudly. Terrible. All right, gang, we are here today to kick off a month of celebration full of retrospect and just memories and thoughts and all kinds of topics regarding the original release of the one that started it all. It is indeed the 40th anniversary of The Legend of Zelda on the Nintendo Entertainment System back in 1986. So this entire month, we are going to be dedicating shows just celebrating the history of Zelda, celebrating this specific game, and we're going to get everything kicked off today just talking about some of our specific memories with this game, like what our first time playing it was like, where maybe we really leveled up our love with the game, and we're going to follow it up next week. We're going to talk about all the dungeons. We're actually going to be unveiling, I think pretty soon, and Moss and I were both involved in this, a very big project that we've worked on, compiling the top 40 moments in the series, and there was a lot of politicking and a lot of negotiation going on to make this list, so that's going to be coming as well. So lots of good stuff, I think, in the next month here to look forward to. We do have a couple pieces of news, though, that I think that we should touch on before we get going here. And we should start off with, first and foremost, a cool new article that just landed on the website yesterday. Zeldalutions 2026. We share our Zelda-related New Year's resolutions. So I kind of skimmed over this article a little bit. We won't spend a ton of time on it, but it's a really cool original piece that our writing team put together. Lots of different things that the writing team wants, and I don't know, Al, maybe we can revisit this at like the halfway year mark and see if any of these came true or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that would be a fun time for sure.
Does anybody here have any quick Zeldalutions for 2026? Mossies, there must be something that you want for this series and this year.
For the series, I would say I don't really know. I mean, I've got some personals that, like, I've got some projects that are Zelda related that I want to move along.
Okay.
not too much I
You,
want to talk about
you
it.
know
No,
what?
but
Actually, let me correct myself. Sorry to interrupt, but like this is actually I misread it. So this is a like writer specific. So exactly what you're describing,
right.
like personal Zelda stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people, I think I was they wanted to play some of the games they haven't played or complete or whatnot, and like do some more streaming. But like, I feel like I've conquered most of that. Like, there's not much I haven't played.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's not really much of anything I haven't done other than I don't know, maybe I got a like 100% freshly picked Tingles Rosy Rupee Land or something.
If there's ever a year, it's this year in September. And by the
Yeah.
way, I think we must have talked about this. But like, you get the most crazy scene for 100%ing that game. That should have been on the top 40 moment list, but I digress. Um, I'll tell you what. mine is going to be. I've been looking into getting because I really love all the Zelda puzzles. I've been looking into getting some like custom made Zelda puzzles for like Link to the Past and Minish Cap, the ones that don't have those. So that's my Zelda-lution for this year. I want to do it.
Hmm. I think that's a fair one. I think personally, mine is probably the games that we're going to be playing anyways for the show. So like, I'm gonna play Rosie Ruby Land finally for the first time, even though Andy got me the game years
I
ago.
will be holding a gun to Al's back as she does this.
So it's just like these are resolutions that have been forced upon me. So yeah, I think that's what I got time for, and that's what I'll do. I think I might be replaying Twilight Princess this year as well. I know we might not be doing something like that specific on the show this year. I don't know, but
Well,
I
I
think
think we
that's
will.
something
It
that
turns 20.
I just haven't done that in a really long time. I think it's been like 5 years since I played Twilight Princess, so I want to do that.
There you go. All right. Well, another piece of news that just came out: Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment has sold over 1 million copies worldwide. So I don't know. That seems like a fine number. If not, like, I don't know. Like, does that seem a little bit soft? Maybe. I guess Age of Calamity didn't sell like that much in the grand scheme of things. I think it was under like 4 million copies. But I don't know. I kind of thought maybe it would have a little bit more of a impactful debut. Like we're 2 months away from its debut. I think the bulk of the sales are going to come in that initial window. An interesting number.
That seems appropriate. I mean, I think it'll probably, maybe reach 2 million at some point, but like comparing Tears to Breath is like comparing Imprisonment to Calamity, I guess.
A little bit, yeah. Um, we'll see where it goes. I'm still like I'm not. Moss, maybe you could give us your take on this. Like, do you get the sense that there's going to be like any DLC coming out for this game? If there is, like, what would you even want to see?
Well, I mean, there was kind of some DLC already in the sense of like the free DLC.
Free, yeah.
I don't think there will be any paid DLC. My gut tells me we will get one more like download batch of extra content for free. They added all the what's the word they used? Like the hardest difficulty.
Oh, the vicious monsters or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, real quick, do you guys care about the difficulty of these games?
No.
No, like to be honest, I feel like when I'm playing Hyrule Warriors, it's not that I'm not looking for a challenge, but like just due to the nature of the game and like how often you're kind of doing similar style maps, making it harder just it's kind of like whatever for me. Like I just kind of want to get through it to get to that 100%.
Uh, I put it on my like I'm doing like a replay just for some content stuff, and like I put it on very hard for the first mission,
Okay.
and it's mindless because all it is everything is exactly the same except the health bars just shrink at like 10% the rate.
Hmm.
Like you are fighting was a Typhon or whatever for like 6 minutes as opposed to fighting him for 90 seconds. Like that's
Ew.
the only difference.
No, not
I don't
doing
Like
know.
that.
you see everything he has to offer in the first 30 seconds of the battle, so just do it for 6 more minutes. Like, yeah.
Nope. Nope, not doing it.
I already don't really like doing any kind of hard mode in any game, so I can't imagine wanting to do that for a game like this. And like the farther away we get from it, my reactions to the news, so like you say 1 million copies, and my first thought was like man, I am one of those 1 million people that had to play this game.
That had to.
That had to.
I also forced Allison to play this game.
I was trying. No, we didn't. I was gonna play it either way, but like I was trying so hard to champion this game for like the first 2 weeks, and then just like by the time I finished it, I was just like, ugh, I'm over it. I'm over the Hyrule Warriors games.
Yeah,
it was okay. It was okay. I think Andy and I talked a lot.
Have you like come back from like your initial thoughts of like this is the worst Zelda game in existence?
No, I think it is the worst Zelda game.
Okay.
It's egregiously bad in some cases. Like
it's okay though.
Like, but no, there's some saving parts to. Like, I like some of the characters. I like the four. Like, it's the extra stuff. Like Andy and I were talking about like. Well, you kept referring it to the Timo.
No shade to Quizno, okay? He's probably a great Zora, but like, what are we doing here?
They just didn't need like. There was so much of the Dynasty Wars and the previous Hyrule Wars games where it's like it's about these massive rosters of characters. It just didn't need that, but they were just like how Tears of the King was doing the exact same stuff as Breath of the Wild. It was like we need to do the exact same things of Age of Calamity. So we need 20 characters. So let's put 3 of every race for whatever reason.
Yeah,
didn't need it. You could have just made a Graston have the other abilities of the other Gorons if you equip a different weapon. If you want to give some diversity, but why throw all these extra characters?
At least like bring back characters that. Like kind of like we've always been saying like the Rauru, right? Like Rauru is cool. He was like a Tears of the Kingdom specific one. You could have done the same for a couple of other people, but we've litigated that a lot. We won't spend any time on that here, but yeah, I don't know. I still, to me, the most egregious thing was like you cannot play as Ganondorf in this game. I couldn't believe it at the end of that. So that's the only DLC I could maybe see coming, and I think they would make you pay for that. Which is criminal.
I'm not about that. I don't know if I would do that. I mean, I probably would have to for the show.
I probably would, but yeah.
But like, if we weren't doing the show, we were not doing the show, I'd probably never support that.
Like, yeah, totally.
Yeah,
totally. Okay, one more piece of news that we should get to. Probably the biggest piece of news, actually, that we'll talk about here today, and that is longtime Nintendo producer Kensuke Tanabe has confirmed that Metroid Prime 4 is his last game as a producer for Nintendo. And Tanabe is mostly known for producing, I would say, like the Metroid Prime series, a lot of Donkey Kong and a lot of Kirby as well. But, I mean, this guy's catalog is like super, super incredible. And there's a lot of Zelda that is on his catalog as well. In the early 90s, Tanabe worked on A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening as a scenario writer. Moved on to Ocarina of Time as script support, and kind of doesn't touch a lot of Zelda after that, but like he's all over, like I said, all of the Metroid Prime games. So like I think those will be his legacy at Nintendo, but we're talking like he's produced the Paper Mario series, Star Fox Assault, Eternal Darkness, Mario Strikers, and wouldn't you know it, I lied, Tanabe was the producer of freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land as well. So,
oh my god,
yeah, we did like a big episode on kind of Tanabe and an interview that he did with Japanese publication Nintendo Dream over on Omega Metroid. So we got it independently transcribed. We went through kind of like the very curious interview where it doesn't necessarily sound like Tanabe is going to retirement at the cottage. It more so sounds like he might have been suggested to retire. So interesting. But this guy really, I think, does deserve just a little bit of celebration here, like for all of the games that he's produced or had like a really heavy input in shaping, and it's a lot more games that you probably like than you'd think. So just wanted to wish Tanabe, I guess, the best and whatever he does next. He's 63, so maybe this is it. Maybe he is going to retire, and maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. But thank you to Kensuke Tanabe for all of the contributions to Nintendo over the years.
Very nice. Good for him.
Yeah. So, leaving on, unfortunately, a little bit of a down note with Metroid Prime 4, but hey, that's even John Cena tapped out in his final match. So there you go. Okay, it is the 40th anniversary month of the Legend of Zelda for the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Family Computer Disk System as well. This game released way back when, in February 21st, 1986. I was not born at that time, and I think we're about the same age, Moss, but you're maybe like a couple months older. Were you? You're not alive at this point, right?
No,
you're coming in like another 6 months.
Yeah. So this is the only Zelda released before me. Although it released before me. I was released in October of '86.
Yes. Moss's was in like the beta stage at this point, but not quite full release yet.
I mean, we could talk about this at one point, but in a project I've been working on, I found there's like a 1980 December 1985 prototype of this game that's available and playable, a fully realized version. And for a project I've been working on, I played through the whole game.
Yeah, wow. Cool.
And they made some tweaks since.
Okay. Well, yeah. Let's talk about it as we get there. Actually, really quickly, I think it was last week, Al, that maybe the week before, but someone was asking about playing like BS Legend of Zelda, and I tried to look it up actually, and I think I'm gonna try and do it because that is one of the things that I have not done in this Zelda business is play that game. So I do want to get that going at some point this year. But yeah, so February the 21st, 1986, Legend of Zelda comes out. Is I would say like a pretty big hit right away. It was definitely a little bit different. And Moss, maybe you could speak to this because I'm sure that you're more knowledgeable than I am here. But like, I feel like the reception to the game was like very, very positive. Got a lot of high review scores as you might expect. Sold very, very well. Ends up with I want to say about 6.5 million, and that's all that we know about, just cartridges. And really just kind of has that. I mean, I'm sure that there were some other games doing this as well, but like this is really the first big NES game that I can ever remember that wasn't like level side to side scroller based. Like it was really a revelation that you can kind of go like anywhere, do anything. And I think that there was just like something just so captivating and imaginative about this game when it came out that obviously it propelled the series to have the legs to still be making games 40 years later. But even like the original game, obviously just like a big hit when it came out. Now, unfortunately, all of us are not of the age where we would remember this game coming out, but I think that we could probably all recount our first time playing The Legend of Zelda, and I'll go first. Like, I know that I would have played this on an actual NES. I'm very confident I didn't beat it. I probably didn't beat it until I was like 16 or maybe even like 18, I don't know. And I probably used the Zelda Dungeon walkthrough to do it. But I do remember playing it, and at the first time that I played it, I was kind of at the point where I was like, I don't want to play these old retro games. Like they don't have what I'm looking for. But in the same hand, I was like a massive Legend of Zelda fan at that point, and I was like, well, I should play the original game that kind of spawned everything here. And so I think the first time that I like beat The Legend of Zelda, I was playing it on the Wii with save states. Yeah, the virtual console. The virtual console on the Wii was great. I played a lot of games that I played as a kid, like on the NES and SNES. So beat it there, and kind of just like checked it off my list and didn't come back to it for a very long time, really, until we started this podcast. And then Moss, I think like it was maybe like year one of the podcast. You, me, maybe Kevin did an episode on The Legend of Zelda, and so I played it for that. And I would say that I was still just like, this is a really fun game. And it was getting more convenient to play because it was on NSO and you had the rewind and stuff like that. But like after that, I feel like as a lot of my personal experiences are, like a lot of my memories of this game were tied to the Zelda Dungeon Marathon. I think it was 2022 or something like that. Mossy's like, you're playing Zelda and you're going to play with GUI and you have only the left Joy-Con to work with. And so I was like, great. And so I played it a couple times and GUI and I did our run at the marathon, which we won. And I had like such a great time. And then we did another gimmick the year later where it was kind of like going through the racing the dungeons, not necessarily the overworld. And that was like one of the most fun game experiences at the marathon that I think I might have ever had. I thought it was so fun, and like playing Zelda, like to just get ready, I was just like, this game is incredible. Like it really is like all the enemies, all like the secrets and the different paths that you can take to get to where you need to go. So Zelda Dungeon Marathon has certainly kind of upped my love for this game, and I would say like Zelda Dungeon in general, like, I would have played this because I was a Zelda fan before joining Zelda Dungeon, but I don't think I would have appreciated it the same way. So a little bit of my, I guess, recollection on this game. Al, what tell us your Legend of Zelda origin story, then we'll get to the one that everybody really wants to hear here.
Mine is, I tell the story a lot where my brothers and I, like, our first true deep dive into Zelda was we got the collector's edition on the GameCube when I was 10 years old. And we all had 30-minute playtimes, and we just kind of like collaborated our times and played these games together. And mostly, like, my memory is consistent of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Those were like really big deals to us. But the game also had 1 and 2 on it, and so we went back and played those. I think we very quickly gave up on 2. We were just like, no, this is not it. This is not happening. But we did
still
play
got that
through...
trauma to this day.
Yeah, I carry it with me everywhere I go. But we did play through 1. I feel like we beat it. Of course, this is 23 years ago, so it's hard to remember, but I'm pretty sure the guide that came with it had a guide. We used the guide for Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and I think that it had guides for 1 and 2. I can't wholly remember, but we used some kind of guide to finish 1. And so we beat that. And I think I was kind of in the same boat as you, as I was really young, and I was like, I don't think this was our speed, especially after playing Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. So we kind of, like, for me, I set it aside for a really, really long time. And then my most recent memory is I replayed it for the podcast 2 years ago. And I think we were doing like some very specific Legend of Zelda episodes here. And I was like, yeah, I really should replay this game because it's been like 30 or 20 years. And so I did, and I was like, wow, I cannot believe how much, like, I forgot how fun this was. Like, it's so much more fun when you're an adult and you can, like, feel like you have a little bit more freedom, especially when you're playing by yourself and not having to share with 4 other brothers. And I just had a blast. And then I joined in on the marathon Life of Luxury 2024 and 2025. And that is, you're right, that is such a fun gimmick and a fun event at the marathon. So I feel like my feelings towards this game are a lot more recent, and like my love for it has been like revived because I don't think I gave it a real chance when I was 10 years old.
Fair. I would agree with you. We also, you know what, we would be remiss if we also didn't mention one of my favorite segments from the marathon last year, which is like the Moogle madness, where we're all trying. So there's like 30 cavemen in this basement playing like Dungeon 2 of Legend of Zelda, and it's like so Fight good. Club down there. Like people are just going crazy as people are going through these dungeons. It was an incredible sight to witness. So I hope that we have something like that again. But Mossies, like you are obviously, have been in this Zelda business for a long, long time. We'd love to hear your memories, your first time playing Zelda, and like, I guess, like, how is this the game that kind of steered you towards, what would ultimately become the formation of Zelda Dungeon? Tell us about your Zelda lore.
So, like, the first Zelda game I played was this game, but I didn't know it was this game, so to speak. So I was, I think, like 7. This might have been like 92 or 93. I don't remember the exact date. And my buddy Richie, who lived down the block, had an NES, and at the time, this might sound weird, but we thought that I had a Super Nintendo at my house, and we had a Genesis. Uh, so like the NES, like I had some memories of playing it, but not much. That was like old. But Richie had an NES, and I remember that we were playing. It was the game that was the gold cartridge,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
we never really progressed very far. We were six, whatever. Half the time spent trying to get the damn thing to work than actually playing the game. Um, but then I played A Link to the Past, and that's probably still to this day my favorite game. And then I eventually, years later, played Ocarina, and I when I got into the Zelda community in the late '90s, and I discovered I'm like, oh, let me go back and play Legend of Zelda, and I found the website online that you could download it and play it, and I'm like, wait, I've played this before. I know this game. So it was like incidentally the first Zelda game I ever played, but not like I didn't play a lot of it. I remember like at the time I really liked it, but I wasn't in love with it. I think my love for this first game has come more in the last couple decades, I'd say. But a few other facts though I'd like to talk about, like the foundation of this game. So like it came out in '86, but you got to recall it only came out in Japan in '86. It didn't come out in the US for another year and a half later. And when it came out, it was not really a huge hit initially in Japan because it was a launch game for the it was on a floppy disk, this game. It was not on a cartridge. So there were it was on the Famicom disk system. Whereas the Famicom, the cartridge system, that version didn't come out for another 7 years in Japan, not until '93 or '94.
Oh.
So you had to buy the floppy disk version of this. So you had to get that attachment to the console. So it was like not a big hit initially. But also, like when you think about the NES era in general, I know back on over at Flashback 64, Gooey and I we played through the entire launch lineup of the NES. And there's a lot of hot garbage in that initial like 85, early 86 era. Like most of the games were like single screen games or like very primitive sports games or whatever, like nonsense that's like hardly playable by today's standards. And then the one like standout was Super Mario Brothers, which was like
Yeah.
way advanced compared to anything, like miles ahead. And then this game, I think, is miles ahead of Super Mario Brothers in terms of what you can do, like the open world aspect, and it's like when you think about this game with its contemporaries in '85 and '86, it is astounding how massive this game is and how big it is, and it's like, and it has lasted the test of time. Where I still think, like, and people were making NES games for 7 years later and like when I remember when Nintendo Power released its best games ever for the NES, this was still listed as number one. It's like there was 7 years of time to advance on, and the hardware advanced in these, and like this was still the biggest game. And it goes to say how much they put into this and how monumental it was.
I mean, it really is like a massive NES game. Like you, yeah, I've been playing a lot of Metroid for the NES, and I know that we've talked about that game a lot. But like this game, like in terms of scope, is quite a bit bigger than that game. And like, yeah, like when I think of like the early NES games, I think of like ice hockey or like baseball or you know what, like even like Ice Climber or Kid Icarus. Like those are fairly simple level scrolling games where like this really is like even by today's standard. I mean, it's not a huge game, but like it's pretty sizable. Like there's lots for you to explore, and it's dense as well. Like almost everywhere has something of value for you to take away from, even if where you are isn't necessarily where you should be in the game.
Yeah, I love like also when you talk to other people about the Zelda series and if you try to go back in their history. So like I'll use my dad for an example. He has memories of like the NES and the gold cartridge, and he had a friend who stole his gold cartridge and he was like so sour about it because like that was his and he liked to play Zelda. And so I love that. And he's like, yeah, I got some work buddies because I like to talk to him about the stuff that I do on the podcast. He's like, I got some work buddies who played Zelda, 40 years ago. It's just like, it's so cool to know that like this is something that has massively evolved, but it sounds like it was like, it's always been at the like epicenter of like evolution of video games, not just the Zelda series.
Hmm.
It was one of the first games, like I mentioned, on in Japan, it was on the disc system. And the whole point for it to be on the disc system, it was like games prior to that were games where you just put them in your system, your console, and you just played from the beginning. Like
Hmm.
whatever. Like a lot of the games in the 80s were like arcade games that ported to console, like Donkey Kong or something, the
Hmm.
original. Like you don't need to save that game and come back to it and continue where you left off. But like they were when they were making Legend of Zelda, they were like, this is not a you just put it in and play it from the beginning kind of game. Like
Hmm.
so it's like they didn't have the technology to put it on the initial console. That's why it had to go. It was so big where they had to make a new system just for this game.
That's pretty cool.
Well, let's spend a second talking about the story that this game weaves, because obviously this is our introduction to pretty much almost all of the core elements of the series that still persist to this day. Um, so we are, of course, introduced to the Kingdom of Hyrule, a vast open kingdom with mountains and a cemetery, a really creepy one, some beaches, and a thick forest. And we are looking for the Triforce here. So the evil Prince of Darkness, Ganon, has stolen the Triforce of Power, and fearing his wicked rule, Zelda, the princess of the kingdom, splits up the Triforce of Wisdom into 8 fragments and has hid them all over the land. So we obviously most of this is still intact. We get the introduction of the Triforce of Courage. I think, is that Zelda 2 or is that Link to the Past that comes in?
Courage, yeah, Courage is not in this at all.
Yeah,
I
because
don't know
I
what Triforce. I don't think I think it's the Triforce of Power in part two
It
as
it could
well.
be, yeah. Yeah, I know that it it's so funny. Like I remember specifically watching the Zelda cartoon actually, and like there's no reference to the Triforce of Courage at all, and the Triforce of Power and Wisdom both speak in rhymes in that show. So that's how I always remember that there's no Triforce of Courage here. But nonetheless, you have a I'm not gonna call him like a random swordsman, but you play as Link, who just comes in and he meets the old man. He gets the sword. There's a bunch of iconic quotes, and we're off to the races. And it is like really astounding, like how much of this formula still is in play. Like I think you could probably argue like A Link to the Past really set like the definitive blueprint for a lot of the Zelda formula, but like you're talking about this game 40 years ago saying, here is your swordsman. You're going to go to various different dungeons. There's going to be a dungeon item in each of them. There's going to be a boss at the end. You need to collect your whatevers in order to go and face the final dungeon. And you need to get these items in order to progress further into the world. So like a lot of that template is like still there, which is pretty impressive. And like I think like a lot of like a lot is said about like the open world of this game and like how advanced it was at the time as well, but like I think like some of these dungeons are like honestly incredible. Like I will talk more about this next week, but like I look at a dungeon like Death Mountain, and like that is like an absolutely intricate, gnarly, dense dungeon that really like could stand with some of the top dungeons like today in the series. Like and there's a few dungeons here that are just like really intricate. I love the sprite work of all the enemies. Like I feel like that also is like such a big reason why this game is like such a hit, is because like relatively speaking, like it's a beautiful game too. Like the sprite work of like Aquamentus looks incredible. It's kind of funny, like it's got some humor. You've got all the like the I was about to call him Orc, the guy who wants his meat, the goblin who, or the moblin who wants his meat and stuff like that. So it's just got a lot of like really like timeless elements. But I think like the story is still, and like the structure of this game is like still being felt in the series. And frankly, like so these dungeons are like still like killer, as you know, Al, we saw a couple years ago going through them.
Yeah, 100%. Like they're hard too, and it could also just be player like not I'm not very good at playing this game, but I feel like if you're not getting the upgrades that you need to your sword, these are difficult levels, especially when you get to like the darkness and stuff. I really struggled with them, but yeah, I feel like they slowly like get bigger and more intricate as you go, and so there's like a natural evolution um to like how I don't know, how involved they are. I feel like there's definitely like a line. I want to say it's like dungeon 4 or 5 where you're just like, this is hard, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So like there's that point that you get to, but overall it's like a fun challenge. It's not like a maybe it's because I also have the rewind, so that helps a little bit, and my younger self would just not be down for this at all. But it's definitely a more fun challenge, and I feel like it's very memorable, which is kind of like odd when you just have a lot of screens that tend to look the same, or a lot of the music that tends to sound the same, and some of the sprites may be the same but a different color. But like it's still pretty memorable in my mind, like playing it in full, 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Um,
Yeah, and like piggyback off the dungeons and like the world in general, like it doesn't really tell you anything. So like
Hmm.
you get that the blurb that Andy read is the story like in whatever. Did you just read the was that verbatim you read
Pretty close.
the
I summed it up a little bit, but like it's pretty close to that. Yeah.
Hmm.
there is a more like elaborate backstory in the manual, but like you don't
Mm-hmm.
need to read that for this. And like they just throw you in the world and just say go. And like there is I like kind of how Allison said there is a bit of a progression of like of difficulty with the dungeons, but it doesn't tell you any of that. So
Hmm.
like look like a mental map of the overworld. A lot of people might find level 3 before they find anything else. And if you go into level 3 with just the wooden sword, like that's impossible. Like for a new
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
player, fighting there's rooms with like 6 red dark nuts,
Mm-hmm.
and like and I think like maybe it was designed where they wanted you to fail so that
Hmm.
when you come back more powerful or with more experience and like it makes success more triumphant.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And yeah.
That dungeon. I was gonna talk about this later, but I guess we just might as well talk about it now. I was gonna say like, did any of us have like any specific moments in the game where you're just like, oh my god, like or like this is like what I distinctly remember. And Moss, you just like totally pointed out the thing that I was gonna say is like in Dungeon 3, the Manji, the room where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 orange dark nuts is just an absolutely crazy skill check in that game. I that to me is like the one room every time that I'm kind of like pumping myself up for when I get there when I play it, and I think it's not the next dungeon, but I think the dungeon after where you have like basically the same room, but they're blue dark nuts this time, and it's just like this wild fight with all of these dark nuts. Those rooms always like really stick out to me when I'm playing this game, and I will say too, retrospectively, I really love because like you play Breath of the Wild and you see Lionels and they look so big and imposing. I never really thought of them until I played Zelda after playing Breath of the Wild, but I do really love going up to Death Mountain and seeing like all the Lionels walking around.
Hmm.
It is like, yeah, it's very like nerve wracking in its own way, and like those sprites, even though they're obviously like they don't have the scale of Breath of the Wild, still do look like really scary. They look like really like evil imps that are coming after you. So those two spots in the game like always really stick out to me in a I would say like a positive way, but it's just like it's skill check time. Like it's time to lock in and do this room.
It's like it's 100% skill check time, and it baffles me. Like when we're doing the Life of Luxury at the marathon, or if I see Mossy's ever speedrunning this game, you guys are when we're doing that Life of Luxury. I'm usually last because of those rooms. Because you guys, I'm like, how did you get through these rooms so quickly? I'm over here trying to get the directions right to hit these guys, and I'm just the same as leveled up in the game as you are, but my skill is just not there, and it's just like, what the heck? How are they? I felt really good about that room. They're done like a minute before I am. Like, how did that happen?
We just have
The
years of
dark
experience on you, Al.
Okay.
there's such a strategy learning curve with fighting dark nuts in particular. But like piggyback of what Andy said, like there is that one room with the 8 red dark nuts, but that room you don't actually have to fight them because that's like
Hmm.
you just go in and get the that's where right where you get the raft.
Hmm.
Okay.
There's a couple rooms with like 3 or 4 that you have to fight, but once you get to level 5, the blue dark nuts are mandatory. You have to kill them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
5 is what I remember the most being like the heavy hitter dungeon for me, where I'm like, I kind of come to a screeching halt with my momentum because I'm like, ooh, this just got tough.
It's a crazy room.
And well, even more so, going back to like level three, if you're playing just the base game with not the Life of Luxury, like getting to like I think the boss of level three, the Manhandla,
Hmm.
is a wall for a lot of people because
Hmm.
if most of the time you're probably still have the wooden sword still,
Hmm.
and you only have usually 5 hearts, maybe six by then. Like if you have the white sword and you've got 6, 7 hearts or whatever, okay, you can get by that. But that's another wall, unless you get a lucky bomb and kill them in one shot.
Yeah.
But like most people don't know that strategy. You go in and like I think about people playing this game for the first time with no guidance. And like, they're throwing their boomerang at a manhandle. I don't think this is working. Like whatever.
Hmm.
Like
I
11 deaths later, then whatever. Like I'll come back here.
I do feel fortunate because I feel like for me, like a lot of the like call them advanced strategies, like dropping a bomb or like whipping out the flute to get the boss whose name is escaping me. Like you would never think of that on your initial playthrough, but now I just like know it because I've only ever played with that knowledge. So it is like it is crazy to think like how much like someone playing this game for the very first time would be able to figure out, or how often they had to die before they kind of discovered like maybe I should try bombing this thing, or maybe I should try playing my flute.
Hmm.
Is the flute gonna do something? It would be really interesting to hear from that lens, like what that was like. But yeah, so some of those rooms I feel like are just like there's just like really ingrained in my memory from the last couple of years, even just playing this. Like one of my like that blue dark nut room. One of my favorite Zelda memories is like our Gooey and I playing with a Joy-Con each, trying to like maneuver to hit these guys and defeat them, and we did, by God, and it was crazy. So I feel like that is like the room for me in this game.
Hmm. I think if the question is like what kind of is solidified in your memory as like a I don't know like an important point in this game, it's definitely the first dungeon. Like you're walking up to it and it's this tree, this old mangled tree, and you go through a few rooms and then all of a sudden you're fighting Aquamentus. And like I feel
Mm-hmm.
like for me and my 10-year-old self and my brothers, like when we were doing it together, we were so stoked to find that tree. And then we were like, going through the dungeon, it's not too difficult. And then you get to this like fire breathing dragon and I just thought that was really cool stuff. I think we kept playing and the difficulty got a little hard for us, so we kind of gave up after that point. But I feel like the first dungeon is very solidifying for like the whole Zelda series.
Yeah, a great blueprint for what would come.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, we probably can't talk about this game without also touching on a few other aspects, and I think that we should start off with the music. Um, by my count, and I am just confirming this with Wikipedia, so there's only 5 tracks in the game. So what? The title theme, the overworld theme, the dungeon theme, Death Mountain.
Death
Does that have its
Mountain.
own theme? Yeah.
Yeah. And then game over,
Maybe
maybe?
credits or game over. Yeah, one of the two. Um,
The game over and the credits are the same. It's just
oh.
the credits is more advanced.
All right, so those must be our 5. And it's crazy because Koji Kondo obviously like made these tracks, and I guess the original idea was to use Maurice Ravel's Bolero as the title theme, as it perfectly matched the speed. I'm going to play this because I can't picture what this sounds like to me. So I don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear it, but everyone listening should be able to hear this. So let's check out what this sounds like. Okay, well, there's Bolero. However, the song was not in public domain yet, as Kenji Kondo thought that it was, and so by happy accident, he just created the overworld theme, which became the most iconic theme. You could say like it's up there with the most iconic themes in the history of video games. I don't think that's an overstatement. And just it's funny how that happens because we could have been talking about Bolero as the main theme for this, but instead we have this theme song that has just become so famous. Like you hear it every time I go to a hockey game, they're playing it. Every time that you go out, like to any kind of like video game themed anything, it's there. Yeah, and obviously the music has spawned like or inspired like the Symphony of the Goddess, and it's inspired a lot of different a lot of different interpretations of it. So it's a small but mighty soundtrack, and honestly too, like I think the dungeon theme is like a really, I wouldn't say it's like as maybe well known as the main theme, but I think that's like a pretty like that one has some staying power as well in the Zelda series. So yeah, I think like a big part of this game's legacy is again just introducing this main theme that would become so synonymous with video game music over the years, and by happy accident.
And like the so I had mentioned earlier that I played a prototype of this game in December of '85. At that point, there was no title screen theme yet, so it was just silent. And what was like that was like an 11th hour edition, the title screen. And Koji Kondo, I think the myth of it is that he had like one night to put that together, and they
Wow.
and he threw that together. And
I
also
love
the
it.
dungeon theme was also an 11th hour edition. Up until shortly before release, the theme that plays for Death Mountain Level 9 theme
Hmm.
was the theme for all the dungeons initially. And then
Oh.
they changed that and added the underworld theme again, like at the last minute
Mhm.
to end. Yeah, so there's only 5 tracks, but there really were only 3 up until like weeks before the game came out.
There you go. What
I
what could have been?
I have this like memory solidified in my mind, and I don't know from where or when, but it was like an interview, and I think it was Shigeru Miyamoto, and he was explaining the limitations of like making music for a game in, that time, and like he was trying to explain like what they were pulling from, and the did it. He was making that motion and that sound, like how that came to be, and I'm like, I have that like kind of solidified in my memory, and I'm just like, that's just like where it all started, and that's so cool.
Um, we probably should talk about Shigeru Miyamoto just for a quick second. So obviously, like, this is really one of his crowning achievements, and you could say like creating Mario or Donkey Kong maybe, but like this one, I feel like is just like a really. It seems to me like a more special and a more personal experience. Like the folklore behind this is that Miyamoto was inspired by the countryside of Kyoto and wanted to get that kind of I don't know majesty into like a game setting and kind of have a fantastical setting where a lot of times for games in this era like to encourage replay value you were supposed to try and achieve like a high score and then beat that high score and beat that high score. Obviously, that was what arcade gameplay was kind of built on. Whereas this kind of took a different direction where it was just like, just finish the game. Finish the game any way you can because it's going to be confusing. There's going to be a labyrinth and you really do have to think. So, we talked about Tanabe, but we should also talk about Miyamoto here because he really he really just wanted to have this like really gaming experience unlike anything else, and obviously like again part of the folklore is like the naming of Link is done so because he is the link between the player and the world of the game as well. And then it's kind of funny, but like the naming of Zelda is of course after Zelda Fitzgerald, the wife of F. Scott Fitzgerald. So and Miyamoto just said like I just like the name, so I took the liberty of using it for the very first title. So it wasn't anything much deeper than that, but you really can't talk about the history of this game without talking about the history of Miyamoto and the really like what a genius he was back then. Like we talk about it now, like it's almost like you take it for granted, and like now he's kind of like your fun old grandpa, but like this was the guy like back in the day that was like really thinking in ways that like no one else was in the video game
Hmm.
world, and imagining that video games could be maybe something bigger than they currently were, even if the his imagination exceeded the technology that was available at the time.
Hmm.
And also, like, so when Miyamoto was making The Legend of Zelda and the first Super Mario Brothers at the exact same time.
Hmm.
In fact, the prototype name of this game was called Mario Adventure.
Oh, there you go.
Like every game was just Mario, and so well, yeah, Mario was the original protagonist of the Legend of Zelda, and then,
Whoa.
until they made Link.
Wow.
I love like the history of him too being like around for this long, but like for us like gathering news and stuff for the site, for the podcast, and like you get his tweets like this is Miyamoto, or you see like interviews or videos with him in it. I just or like the direct if he pops up and that kind of thing. Like I love seeing him and Eiji Aonuma and like being like I can point to this guy and be like this is the reason that I love this series so much. This is the man that started it all. So yeah, I really appreciate and respect his role in something that's in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One other thing, like you mentioned it earlier, Moss, but I think that we should talk about it for a quick second here. Like, correct me, you're the authority on NES games. I can't think of like a whole lot of other NES cartridges that weren't just like your standard gray cartridge. Like I think that that's kind of like in my mind what made this game feel a little bit special is because you look at the cartridge, you're like this thing's gold. This game's got to be good, like I there's got to be maybe a few others out there, but that really was like a big for me like a big kind of attribute about this game that really made it stand out among other titles.
Well, in fact, it is the only non-gray cartridge. Let me reiterate that. So there were the black cartridge games, which were the Tenjin games, but they were unlicensed. And then there were the like the Quattro Sports and Quattro Adventure games, which were gold, but they were like different, and those were also unlicensed. And there were some baby blue cartridges. So there are some other third parties made some NES cartridges that were like different colors or different just like the casing was different, but those were all unlicensed. This is the only licensed game that was in a gold cartridge. Although when they later re-released it years after its initial run, there is a gray cartridge version when they did the NES Classic series or whatever it was. But they knew they had something special from the get-go, so they're like, gold.
That's funny. I wasn't sure if Zelda 2 was gold or not as well. Like I know the box art was, but yeah, like it really did like make it look very classy and just really like I don't know, like high tier, I guess, or like you were getting into something special. Like that always really stuck out to me about this game. We should also talk.
Like,
or sorry,
I was gonna say it's like super iconic too that it's inspired like art beyond it. So is it the Encyclopedia or Arts and Artifact where they had the special edition and it is the gold cartridge in the slipcover?
Oh
of the
yeah.
NES. And I have that version. It's so cool. Like it's such a sick book, and I love that it's inspired by that gold cartridge.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much memorabilia too with just the gold cartridge.
Yeah, like, exactly.
It's the most that and 8-bit Link I think are the most like
iconic,
abundantly used things from this game, from the entire Zelda series that in memorabilia and clothing and everything.
I mean, look at the logo for this podcast. It's not Ocarina of Time Link. It's our boy 8-bit Link. Which is funny because obviously when this podcast came out, we debuted as the Champions Cast because we were right around Breath of the Wild. So the original logo was like 8-bit Link, but in Breath of the Wild kind of colors, which I always just kind of held dear a little bit as well. And I eventually were just like, no, we're the Zelda Cast, and I wanted to get closer to like the sprite that we all know and love. So it's funny how that works. One thing I also wanted to talk about that I think that this game doesn't get enough love for doing, because I think this is one of the only Zelda games that really truly goes all the way with this concept, is like after you're done the game, you have second quest to go through, and it's essentially like a remix of the world. The dungeons are in a different spot, and like we're in the 80s, and a lot of emphasis is obviously placed on replaying video games. And if you have a game like this where you don't necessarily have a high score to beat, how can you get replay value out of that? And so the answer here was like, we're going to give you like basically 8 remix dungeons for you to go through. And I thought that it was like a really ahead of its time concept. And like I mean, like, I can't think of a whole lot of other instances where this happens. Like, Ocarina of Time Master Quest is one for sure. Um, but I mean, even that came like years after Ocarina of Time was actually out. It's just like a really like I thought it was like a really great idea. And the one thing that didn't stick in the Zelda series is the second quest idea, which is too bad because it's a really cool concept.
Like this was an idea that got thrown. This was another like 11th hour idea. So like I'm playing this in 85 December 85 prototype. So we're like 6 weeks out from release of the game. You beat the first game, you beat the main game, and it starts the second quest, even in this prototype. The dungeons haven't been remixed yet. They're in the same locations, but the dungeons are blank. It's
Oh,
just empty rooms, and you
Whoa.
get so it's like what that tells me is that they made the second quest in like 4 weeks.
Wow.
They put it together, and um, I really think the second quest doesn't get the like praise that it deserves because it is like this is a hard game, I would say, Legend of Zelda.
Hmm.
But the second quest is substantially more difficult. And like because they do a combination of they take away a lot of your safeties.
hmm.
So like in the first quest you can get some heart containers and get the white sword and the blue ring right away. You can get some of that in this, but there's far less secret rupees. You can't get heart containers early on. Some of the items you get in the early dungeons are not as useful. So it's like they really scale down what you have at your arsenal, and they add more difficult enemies. There is more difficult ropes. There's the bubbles which are insane. Uh, so there's like higher level enemies, and then the dungeons are so darn cryptic too. There's like one way doors. There's a lot of it's in the later dungeons. It's just evil in some cases where you're going through a gauntlet of like 9 rooms in a row, and then you get to a block you have to push. You can go either left or right, and like sometimes there's like a series of these choices in a row, and I think it's level 7, and they all lead to a staircase. And some of the staircases, they're one-way staircases. You go to a staircase, you go through an underground area, and it just shoots you back at the entrance of the dungeon. So then you got to go through these like this gauntlet of enemy. Anyway, it's just
Allison is
uh,
shaking over there.
I feel like I haven't played the second quest, and you guys are making me never want to play it. So everybody knows I don't like to suffer. I would hate this. Like,
We should play second quest this month.
no.
maybe that should be a
Andy's
live
already
segment.
saying Andy's already saying I have to do Master Quest this year for Ocarina of Time. I don't know if I can handle second quest also.
Did I say that?
I'm pretty sure you did.
Okay.
Compare like that's a good comparison though, because I think Master Quest. Are we talking the original Master Quest or 3DS Master Quest?
I didn't know there was a difference.
Oh, okay. I would say there's a substantial like this is a tangent a little bit, but Ocarina of Time's Master Quest on the 3DS is mirrored, so everything is flipped, so you feel disoriented, even though it's the same map, but it
Hmm.
just feels so out of whack. And there's double damage and no like recovery hearts and whatnot. Actually, I think there are recovery hearts, but not it double damage. Um, Whereas the original Master Quest for Ocarina of Time, it's the same. Like there's no mirrored, so everything seems familiar, and there's no added difficulty of damage. So the 3DS version is way harder.
All
But
right.
Hey, good to know.
so you should play the 3DS version.
Okay.
Hey, I'm down for that, Al, if you want. But yeah, like I don't know. I just think like second quest is like such a cool concept. I wish I don't know. I just like wish it would come back. Like imagine the legs that it would give a game like Oracle of Ages or Oracle of Seasons, which aren't like small games by any means, but like if you could replay them with mixed up dungeons, like that would be really cool. And you could apply that to a number of games. Um,
Going back to the development of this game, actually. So when they were first making it, there was no overworld originally. It was actually,
really,
and when they put an overworld in, it was a first-person overworld. Like you're just think like Doom for the like
yeah.
you're just like walking like
Oh,
block, but it was
weird.
weird.
Yeah.
There's some early screenshots of it. But it was a dungeon game. It was purely dungeons, and the idea initially was for it to be like a dungeon maker kind of game. So like, and I
Hmm.
think that was sort of the concept of the second quest too. It's like, oh, we have all these assets, let's remake some dungeons. And I mean, that never. And I think the broadcast of the BS Zelda was kind of more of that. It's like it's almost like DLC. And I think they thought they could recycle this more and more. But yeah, it was originally supposed to be a dungeon builder game that they kind of scaled back.
So Moss, you've obviously been doing like a lot of research to this game. Tell us some stories here, and we'll pick up where you just left off. Like, do you know like at what point they were like, well, we're gonna put in an overworld and we're not gonna have this at a dungeon game, like because that's just like so interesting to hear, and I could totally believe it too, because there's like games like Ultima at the time that are basically dungeon crawlers. I could totally see them making a game kind of like that, but at what point were they just like, no, we're gonna put in like an open world? Do we know that?
Well, like the timeline of development for this game is not very long. Like it was basically a year, and like they started making Legend of Zelda before Super Mario Brothers, but they were kind of being made like in alignment with one another.
Hmm.
And I don't know if I don't know if it's public information as to when they like flipped the script, but like there were I think the beta screenshot of that first person view I was mentioning was like fall of '85. So like we're 6 months out and they didn't make the overworld yet.
Hmm.
Wow.
And like I was saying, like 6 weeks out, they didn't make the second quest. 6 weeks out from release, so I don't even know. Like, but you got to keep in mind, there's like a team of what, 11 people that made this game.
Hmm.
Like, so it's like they're probably all in one room working on the one game. So it's like I think there was a little bit more collaboration that comparatively to what we see now. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know how. Like, it's somebody who doesn't work in the video game industry. Like, it's mind-boggling how they get this like on a chip. Like, I don't even
Yeah.
know. There's like there's like a joke running around where like if you take a picture of a screenshot with like a camera, not like a internal like a JPEG picture, that JPEG picture is a larger file size than the entire game.
I
And
mean,
it's
Wow.
like,
probably, yeah.
what? Like what? Like there's everything is just bits and like the computer telling what colors to appear and like I don't know. So I don't know too much about the development in that sense. Like I don't that's behind the curtain a little bit, but no, seeing some of the early. I mean, we've seen. I think like Allison mentioned the encyclopedia, and there is some like development history where they show some of the uh like some early prototype pictures,
Hmm.
like how they talk a lot about how they only had a certain amount of data. So that's why the dungeons, I don't know if you noticed, they all fit in like a puzzle piece or something. Like
Hmm.
they fit in like all the dungeons fit in a grid that looks like the overworld map.
Oh, I don't
I
know if
didn't
I
know
knew that.
that. It's like a Pangea situation.
Yeah, well, like in particular, this is a lot more in the second quest too, where there's like a dungeon that just goes like this. It's like a, and then the next dungeon is like the interior parts that there's no rooms. So collectively they make a square.
Wow.
Cool.
But
Okay.
I'm gonna try and fit
the
the eagle into the lizard here after we're done.
no, you can. And it's a perfect rectangle that's the same size of the overworld. In
That's
fact,
wild.
it was when during this they worked within these limitations only to discover like wait we can do it was something like they had double the space that they didn't know they had, and this is what triggered the second quest. They're like we have all these assets but we have more space, so let's make another quest.
I
Huh.
love it.
That's amazing.
I love
I'm
how they're like they're even surprised by their own work. They're like, "Oh, look at all this extra stuff we made accidentally." Like,
you got to figure like at this point too in like the mid 80s, like the advancement in video game development is like so rapid. Like you might be working on something for a while and like something happens where you're just like, oh, this could actually completely change the entire scope of like what like how we can develop like to a
Mhm.
very small extent. Like I even remember like last year when I was doing the Omega Metroid Marathon, halfway through I discovered I could do something that would like could completely change how we could run like all of these games, and it was just like this cool kind of breakthrough moment. So like I feel like in the mid 80s that's got to be happening all the time with some of these big ideas. Like I'm reading a little bit on the game here, and like according to Miyamoto, like early concepts involved technological elements, with the Triforce fragments being electronic circuits, the game taking place of both the past and the future. Like a lot of ambitious stuff that you would eventually see actually like in the game.
Yeah,
the games
like they
to follow.
transcribe it later. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so like a lot of these concepts obviously like were in the planning stages, but just like the technology wasn't there yet.
They were developing the first game, and like so much of the technology popped up ideas that they were like, let's just put this on the back burner, and then when we're trying to figure out what to do with our next game, like let's go back there and pluck some ideas and like incorporate it into. That's really cool.
Yeah. So I want to actually, before we bring it back to us, anybody have any just like final things they want to say about the game and like about the actual game itself? Because I do want to wrap up with some of our experiences with Legend of Zelda. But if anyone has anything they want to share about like the game, Moss, I'm really just talking to you here. Allison and I don't know anything. If you have anything that's worth sharing, let us know.
Oh, I don't know. There's so much to talk about. Like it's just I think it's you talked about the technological advancements too. And this is something that's huge during the NES era. Like if you look at NES games that came out in 92, 93, 94, they look and play so much better than it's because the technology changed. While they were still limited to what's in the hardware of the console, they're not limited to what's in the cartridge. So like the motherboards of cartridges evolved significantly in that 7 years. So like it's wild to think that this game was from that early era, but it was actually the counter to that, it was actually too advanced. That's why they couldn't put it on the Famicom. So that's why they had to like make a system for it. But no, there's just so much to it, and like I think it's one of the few games during that era where it really, I think, has lasted the test of time. It's still very much a playable game 40 years later, and I mean that's maybe some quality of life changes that has come with modern society a little bit to make it more playable. But yeah,
I like personally for me, like I would agree. Like over the last couple of years, I've been just like really not surprised. Like I always knew that this was like a very fun game, but like maybe surprised is the right word actually. I don't know, but like I was like, this game is like really fun. Like it's like the things that I kind of take away that I appreciate from the game is like the enemy variety is one that actually like really comes to mind for me. Like there's lots of like really iconic enemies that like you still see in the series, and like kind of even fighting like the one-offs like your Patras I think is like a really cool kind of enemy that just feels really special, and like I feel like there's a lot of that, and like all these enemies have like lots of personality. I really have come to appreciate like the kind of like open-endedness of the game, and like you can go into a dungeon and you can beeline it to the boss, but like there's a lot of other stuff for you to explore should you choose to. So like it really does like have all of the hallmarks of like things that Zelda fans I think are still like really clamoring for. Like it's got the intricate dungeons, enemy variety, like that's something that I think is still brought up after like the Wild Era games a lot. So yeah, I the last couple of years, this game has really shot up on my list of Zelda games that I really like to play. I will say like I like it too because it's short. Like just my life, like short games are great for me. But yeah, like you're right. Like it's still a very, very fun and playable game. Like there's nothing like, yeah, they may look old, but like it still controls like super tightly, and it's simple too. Like all you really need to do is be able to maneuver and hit and use your items. And like, that's just kind of like timeless gameplay that is always going to stand the test of time. So this one really has been one over the last couple of years that's crept up my list. I look forward to playing it like, I don't know, once a year, maybe if not more. And one that I always had appreciation for it, but it was kind of like the appreciation where it's just like, this game paved the way, and it's no good now, but back then it was awesome. And that's completely changed for me, where I'm like, this game did pave the way, but this game still is awesome, like to play. Mm-hmm. And I think that's like that alone is like really a testament to the quality of this game, because there is a lot of stuff from that era, and frankly stuff that comes after it, which you wouldn't want to play at all, even by today's standards. And I do really think that like Life of Luxury on NSO, and especially like Rewind, really gave this game like a second life for a lot of people that might have never wanted to play it. Like I know, like I've been on Allison forever about playing Zelda 2, and I would stipulate like with Rewind, it's a totally different game, so it is kind of nice, and those are like the quality of life improvements that you need right there. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, if anyone's on the fence about playing this, like there's lots of different ways that you can experience Legend of Zelda, but like NSO with Rewind, like you it really is like a very user-friendly experience, I think.
Yeah, I would say that like my overall feeling about the game is, I know I talk about this every year for the best Zelda ever list, and some people give me some flack because I don't really rank the 2D games very highly. But like of all the 2D Zelda games, I'd probably pick this one over like 3/4 of the 2D Zelda games to play, because it's that like that. I feel like that says a lot. It's so fun. It's concise. It's tight. It's like it has a good amount of challenge, and if I had to choose like tomorrow a 2D Zelda game to play, I would probably choose this game over any of the other like more modern ones.
I thought you were going to say Minish Cap. Too bad. Oh, darn. Yeah, take a look at this too, by the way. I was looking up some stats in honor of Mossy's here. This game in 1995, Flux ranked it second on its top 100 video games of all time. So the pool is smaller there, but still pretty good. Game Informer, this game has topped their top 100 games and 200 games. So this game is a two-time #1 victory here in 2001 and 2009. 13th in Electronic Gaming Monthly's 100 best games of all time. 5th in their 200 greatest games of all time, which came out a few years later. Like, this game still ranks consistently very high on like these legacy lists of like just the greatest video games. And like, you got to take into it like account here as well. Like, at this point, like obviously Ocarina of Time, A Link to the Past are out, and those are, I think, what most people would probably say are like the best Zelda games. But you have the OG here coming in and topping lists and ranking super high. So like it really is a testament to the timelessness of this game.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool.
Hey, sometimes when you look at lists like that, they put games that are like so iconic, but like then you go back and play them and you're like, oh, it's on the list because of how important it was, but not. But like, I really think this game is still. You can give it to somebody who's never played it, even now, and it's still a fun game. Whereas I imagine you look at some of those little, like, oh, whatever, Tetris for the Game Boy. Like, okay, it's fine, but like, that's not a good example.
Don't pick on Tetris. Come on, yeah. Jeez.
That's not a good example, but I think you get I can't think of one off the top of my head, but you know what I mean? Like, there's like, oh, that was an important game back then. Like,
you know what? Metal Gear. That's a good example.
Metal Gear, yes, yeah. Or like, I don't know, Metroid.
Wow.
I played Metroid a couple weeks ago. Great game. Great game. Yeah, so, I mean, obviously without this game, none of us are here. None of us are, leading the lives that we lead. No matter, like for some, like this game and the series is impacted them more than others. But like, at the end of the day, like we're all part of the Zelda Dungeon community. We're making a podcast about Zelda, and without this game, none of that happens. So yeah, I mean, like this game really does deserve all of the respect, all of the homage that we give it. But like at the same time, it's still really great. Like, it's not like it's one of those like really old kind of games that you're just like, I gotta play this. It's that time of year. It's really fun. I am looking very much forward to playing it, hopefully, at the marathon this year and really any capacity, because I feel like the last 3 years, there has not been a game that I've consistently enjoyed playing as much as this one. And that includes like games like Ocarina of Time or Minish Cap, like some of my favorite Zelda games. There is just something about this title that is so, I don't know, like charming, nostalgic, all kind of wrapped in one, but it still delivers too. So it's a game that I don't think we've given enough love to on this show, and we're gonna change that this month. By God, we're gonna make Allison play Second Quest.
No, that's that's not happening.
Oh, okay. But what happens
play the game
first?
Again, though.
What happens first, Al? Do you play Second Quest or do you play Zelda 2?
Oh my God.
Zelda 2 is way easier than Second Quest.
Oh my God. I don't want to do either of those. Probably Zelda 2.
Yes, you heard it here.
Moz, wait, no, Moz, what are you trying to say? He's trying to save me from something.
Second Quest, well, like, okay, let's be real here. If you have a guide, because you need a guide to play Second Quest. Okay. I don't know if you necessarily need a guide for Legend of Zelda. I feel like it's helpful. It's helpful. But,
listen, when I was 10 years old, I couldn't figure out that you had to go up 4 times on one screen to find a dungeon, okay? So, like, I needed a guide.
There's, I think, that clue in particular, and then, like, using the recorder to drain the water.
Yeah.
And maybe the entrance to Death Mountain.
Yeah.
Don't forget the one random bush that you need to burn, level 7 or 8 or whatever it is. There's just like a shrub that you need to burn. It's like
I think that one's okay because it's the only shrub in the entire game that's in the middle of the road. Like, I think it's but I agree. But the point I'm making is there's probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 things that it's like one instances where you need a guide. But the rest of the game, it's difficult, not because you don't know what you're doing, but because the game is just difficult.
Yeah.
Adventure of Link, I would say, generally speaking, other than probably even less, maybe 1 or 2 instances, it's difficult because the game is difficult, not because you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Second Quest is difficult because you don't know what you're doing. It's cryptic. It's way too cryptic in some cases. So you need a guide. But then it's also very difficult and way more difficult. So it's like a combination. But if you have a guide and you're using Rewind, it's not going to be that hard, I think.
No.
I mean, depending how much you abuse Rewind, I mean, some people like enter a room, die, Rewind, die. Like, okay, that's nothing can be that hard at that point, right? Right?
Well, remembering how I've like when I played Zelda for the like LOZ for like the first time in 20 years, 2 years ago, that was me. I would like enter a room, die, rewind, enter a room, die. Like I've gotten better since then, but like yeah, that was me.
The one thing I'll say about Rewind, like if I was showing this game to somebody for the first time, I don't think I would give them the Life of Luxury mode. Because I think it actually, I think, hinders player growth a little bit because people don't get better. They do, but like very marginal because there's so much room for error. Mm-hmm. So there's no incentive to learn strategies that otherwise, you would.
We were talking about that a couple weeks ago maybe it was on Omega actually, but like it is today's gamer is definitely not, and I know we sound old, but like there is something to learning through failure.
Yes.
I feel like I can understand that. I get that, but I also have like 25 years of gaming under my belt, and I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I just want to play a game and not.
It's a balance for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, like, I mean, I generally, like, I think this game is playable without Rewind. I really do. It
is. Zelda 2, I might say you should use Rewind, but Zelda 1, you could definitely play it without Rewind. Although my like 2 cents is like if it helps you play the game and you're playing the game that you might not otherwise, I'm pro Rewind. So
right, I think so.
Yeah.
I used I'll use this example because I don't think it has this kind of Zelda 2 probably does, but not Zelda 1. It doesn't have the like parts where like I played Super Metroid like 4 or 5 years ago for the first time. Mm-hmm. And there's like the rooms where what's it called, Andy, where you have to use like the zip line, the electric, and like you're like Indiana Jones and swinging.
The rooms are calling it, but you're using your grapple beam and it's hard.
Yeah, it's not very the point is like you fail, then you just have to backtrack and then do it again. Fail, but and then the average person is going to fail a dozen times before they succeed. Like that, just use rewind because you're literally just walking. Like there's no, but like rewind in Legend of Zelda, the first game, because now you're just avoiding having to. You can just like optimize a room and then advance and like, oh, I beat it without getting hit, even though you got hit.
See, yeah, that's what my brothers and I did when I was 10. So like 2 years ago, I was just like, I can rewind now.
Yeah.
I was being lazy about it, but like we did that when I was like 10 years old, and I think that was a fun time. We had a fun time, but we ultimately decided that wasn't for us in the end, you know.
You've earned your usage of rewind.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying.
That's right. She's put in the time.
I've earned it.
So I was about to say, and I'll leave us with a piece of trivia here, but I was about to say, you know, we've seen the Gleeok really reinvent itself in Tears of the Kingdom. We saw the Lionel reinvent itself in Breath of the Wild. But still, we have Aquamentus, we have Manhandla, and the Dig Dogger that maybe could be coming in future Zelda games. I don't know. I would love to see them.
I mean, Manhandla was pretty good in the OG Hyrule Warriors. That was a pretty good iteration, Manhandla, I would say.
You know what? Fair. Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
I was gonna say too, like one other place that I guess you can see all these, and I think most people will know this, but like if you ever play Oracle of Seasons, you'll notice a lot of similarities between a lot of the bosses in that game and Legend of Zelda, because that was originally intended to just be like a straight up remake of Legend of Zelda that kind of evolved into something different there. So hey, if you don't feel like playing Legend of Zelda, at least go play Seasons to honor this game in some way or some form. Okay, so next week we are going to be ranking the dungeons of this game. That's going to be a great show, actually. Like, I'm really looking forward to that. I'm going to run through Legend of Zelda at some point this week just to do a little refresher. Yeah. So we're going to be doing that the week, depending on when this list comes out. We are going to be talking about the top 40 moments in the Zelda series, and that might be a two-parter, actually. So depending on that, we have something else planned as a backup in case it's not out yet. But and then we're going to be taking your questions as it pertains to this game as well. So we've got a couple weeks of great Legend of Zelda content coming for you guys as we celebrate the 40th anniversary of this game and this series. So, man, what a legacy this game leaves behind, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, we are going to get out of here. Moss, thank you for taking some time out of your schedule to grace us with your Legend of Zelda knowledge. We'll see you again in a year, maybe 18 months.
I think it's been I think this is the 4th episode I've been on, maybe.
Okay, so that's like every 2-year bell curve.
So I think so I'm looking at January 2028.
Okay.
Well,
we're gonna be alive. I don't know.
See you then. Let's not go there.
Mark your calendars, folks.
Yeah. Let's not touch that. All right, everybody. We are going to get out of here. Thank you so much for checking us out and listening. Of course, if you want to play this game or any Zelda game and you need a walkthrough, you know where to go. ZeldaDungeon.net. There's news, there's guides, there's walkthroughs, there's opinion pieces, and there's lots of other cool stuff there as well. So thank you to this man for providing this community for all of us to enjoy. Yeah, that's going to do it for us. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Like, subscribe, recommend, rate, review, and of course, tell a friend. If you've got a Zelda fan in your life, tell them where they can get their weekly Zelda fix. Every single Monday, the Zelda Cast is coming out on your podcast platform of choice. You can also give us a follow over on Blue Sky at the Zelda Cast, at Spateri316, at Alison Aletha, at Mossy's Hagopian. And if you do want to check out these podcasts in video form, you got two options. You could go to twitch.tv/ZeldaCast or head over to Zelda Dungeon's YouTube page where you can see our smiling faces as we talk about Zelda every single week. And we do have a Patreon if you really want to take your Zelda Cast love to the next level. We have got the Zelda Cast XL. Gooey and I, we're talking Zelda. We're playing Zelda games. We're trying to do Zelda Hurdle. So it's and we're taking your questions, of course, as well. So it's very fun, light and breezy show, plus a ton of extra bonus stuff over there as well. So patreon.com/SPNet. That, my friends, is going to do it for us. So until next week, take care. Bye.
Bye.
Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this clip and want to see more of the Zelda Cast, make sure to head over to your favorite podcast platform of choice and subscribe. There are over 200 episodes in the vault that will provide you with hundreds of hours of Zelda content for you to enjoy. You can listen to us when you're on a walk, fighting Ganon, trying to sleep, whatever. And if you want to see these shows as they happen, make sure to head over to twitch.tv/the Zelda Cast, where you can watch our beautiful faces talk about Zelda every single week. Don't miss out, and we'll see you next time.